So Kelly kind of outlined what we want to do. Again, this will probably be a short webinar. Just wanted to have a touch base with you all since we've been using the system for about a week to see how things are going, if there were questions. So we want to talk about, again, the expectations, give you those supports and resources and the opportunity for questions and answers. So the expectations for EVV use. So we are looking at, for January of this year, providers using the EVV to capture at least 50% of visits, stepping that up in February to 75%, and then looking at the beginning of March, 100% of the visits. We have been very pleased so far with the use of the Therap app. We've seen several providers that have been using it for all visits. Not looking like we're seeing a lot of exceptions. Haven't had a whole lot of questions, so things seem to be going very well. So again, I want individuals to reach out if they have questions, and we are monitoring that, and we'll be reaching out to briefly, but again, was just talking about the usage and that we are monitoring that. The third parties, those connections with the aggregator are still in process of being established for some of them, but again, we are expecting providers to be using their third parties. I've had a couple different providers that are using a third party vendor reach out with a plan of what they're doing and how they're managing that. And those have all been very adequate. So this really was just time for you all to let us know how it's going, ask questions, just a reminder of what the expectations are for use. Again, reminder, we don't have the edit turned on for claims right now, that if you bill and there's not a corresponding visit, it's not going to deny you. It will in the future. We are monitoring what those numbers look like as well. Providers do have the option to use Therap to bill claims, but it is not required. So I know Therap has provided training and provided technical assistance to any individual that's interested in using them as a third party, as the biller for them. And so this one, again, where to find support and resources. So this is just, we'll post this deck, but this is, again, kind of where to find these recorded the previous town halls, any other recorded meetings, as well as Therap's resources and how to get in contact with Therap if you have questions.
Just a quick note there, Pam. So that DMS EVV website, all of this will be posted there, as well as that like therapservices.net. So you can find this presentation and the recording, I think mostly in both of those places, just so folks know that as well.
Okay. I think we've had a question about third-party vendor and how will the reporting work. So once all of the connections are made with the aggregator, then we will start seeing that reporting in the aggregator. So most important part right now is that you continue working with Therap if you have not completed all of the aggregator agreements and signed all of those agreements. But then once all of those connections are made, then we will start seeing that data flow into the aggregator, and that's how we will see it. And so really Therap is who you want to talk to with any questions about that third party connections and getting any of that testing done. But we have seen usage for all of the MCOs. I've seen visits for all of the MCOs. I've seen visits for fee for service. Most of the visits we've seen have been using the mobile app to check in. We've seen very few manual visits, which is very exciting. We have seen some individuals that have forgot to check out, which is expected. We've seen some where visits were forgot. Individuals forgot to start the visit. Again, expected. This is new technology until people get used to doing it. But overall, have been very pleased with provider usage so far, and how the providers are doing with it. We've seen very few exceptions that have had to be done, or any corrections that have had to be done by the provider administrators. So really wanted to give you all just this opportunity to ask any questions or provide any feedback on what you're seeing and what's going on.
Hey, it looks like we do have one popping up there in
Right.
the Q&A.
Yeah, so it's a question about the third-party vendor still working with TheraP on testing, and that they cannot get access to the portal until testing is complete. What is the process if we're unable to comply with the 50% submission requirement for January if the testing isn't complete? So what's most important is that you're using your third party to capture the visits. We'll catch up with the reporting will catch up once you're able to get into the into the aggregator, and all of that, all of those connections are done. So the critical part is just communication stay open, and that you all are using your third party vendor to capture the visit. Our agency is required to collect EVV information for patients with Medicaid savings plans. We have across the board said that it is better to collect the EVV data on all of your individuals that have any type of Medicaid, whether that be the savings plan or full Medicaid eligibility, or they are dual eligibles. It just helps staff to not have to think about, okay, do I do an EVV visit for this individual or do I not? It makes it, I think, easier if it's a across the board versus the staff kind of having to think about what the payment source is and whether or not a visit has to be captured or not.
So I did just want to mention I threw in the chat both the DMS EVV and the TheraP EVV websites up there. So if you haven't already, you want to click on those and maybe bookmark them so that you have them. That's one way to kind of save that information. And again, this will all be out there on our website, and I will also maybe do a follow-up email and just send all those links and everything, so that way folks kind of have them in multiple places. Because I know sometimes that's helpful so you don't have to remember exactly where you saved it. We have got a couple more questions there popped up in the Q&A.
So we will not require providers to back submit any data to January the 1st. We are just looking at that and monitoring it, but you will not be required to go back and add that in. If you are not, what if we are not billing Medicaid as the secondary insurance? Do we still capture EVV documentation for those patients? If you are not going to be billing Medicaid and 100%, then you would not have to capture them. If there's any potential that you would bill Medicaid as the secondary, I would encourage you to capture that visit, because you would have to have that visit would have to be there for that claim. But if you know without a doubt that you're not going to bill Medicaid, then you could choose not to use EVV. Next question is on the call last Wednesday. It asked about having to obtain traditional Medicaid ID if the patient had an MCO plan, and submit both the Medicaid ID and the MCO ID with the EVV when utilizing third-party vendors. It was stated they were going to check and let me know, but I haven't heard anything yet. Do you know if they're still looking into this question? I believe they are still researching that question. I think it is going to have to do too with if you're going to bill the information, if it's going to come through TheraP, and as well as making sure that all the information would be on any encounter data. But I do know they are still looking into that. We will get that we will get that answer out, and we'll make sure it's on the FAQs.
I've gone ahead and put this in the presentation, and I forgot as well. I do believe we have one more town hall this week on Wednesday from 1 to 2:30 as well. So if you're kind of plugging along with EVV and come up with another question, or just want to tune in and kind of meet with there, that's another opportunity. I will put the registration for that in the chat. If you're already registered, like if you've registered previously for all the other town halls that we've had on Wednesdays, you don't need to register again, but you just never know. So I will put that back out there. But yes, on the 10th from 1 to 2:30, there will be at least one more town hall with Sarah.
I think, Kelly, I see there's a couple questions in the chat. So, are there any changes to billing using third party? No, if you are using a third party to do your billing, then that does not change. The only change will be is when we turn on that, the edit, is that if there's not a corresponding EVV visit, it will get, when that billing goes to the MMIS, it will get denied. If someone has a late missed punch in and has to be corrected, will this count against us? No, we monitor that, and we really encourage providers to use that to look for, are there any patterns? But we realize, I mean, these are humans that are using this technology, and that those are going to be things that happen, and that's why there's the functionality there that lets you go back and correct that. So no, it's not something that is counted against you. Now, if we see the same person routinely that is still not doing that, we will, follow up with you to see what you've done to address that with that staff member. But beyond that, there's not anything that is done. I think, Kelly, we'll hold open for about the next 5 minutes for any additional questions. And then we can end. I don't want to hold people hostage on a Monday. But if you have questions, we will stay as long as we were scheduled to answer those. But we'll hold for about 5 more minutes just for anybody to post any additional questions. If you think of them after, which is typically what I end up doing, then send us an email, and we'll get back with you to answer those. But we'll leave everything open for about 5 more minutes for live questions and answers. And then if not, we'll close and everybody can get on with their Monday.
Okay, we've had one more pop up there in the chat.
So we have some issues that we need help with. Is there a certain person we need to contact for help with those? If you want to, without knowing specifically what the issues are, it is hard to tell you whether you should contact Therap directly or if you want to start with us. If you want to send an email to the waiver to the help desk, and then we can help to, once we assess what the problems are, and then we can reach out to you to either connect you to Therap or if we have the answers.
Okay, we'll keep it open about 3 more minutes. So if you're still with us and you have any additional questions in the next 3 minutes or so, feel free to put those in the Q&A and the chat. Again, just a reminder that we do have another webinar, town hall with Therap on January 10th, which is Wednesday from 1 to 2:30 as well. So that's another opportunity to get questions answered as well. And I will send that information in a follow-up email so that everybody has that. I know with the start of the year and things, folks might have forgotten about the town halls.
So for those general, example is that there are general things, patients not showing up on the Therap app and instructions on doing offline, you can reach out directly to Therap support, and they should be able to help you work through those.
Okay, it is 10:25, so we're going to go ahead and close out the webinar. I think we can all agree that the best kind of Monday meeting is one that ends a little early. So again, you have our contact information. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. If you're not sure if you need to contact Therap or DMS, feel free to just contact us and we can help troubleshoot and kind of get you pointed in the right direction. Again, another webinar January 10th from 1 to 2:30 in case you have additional questions and want to get those answered live, or just kind of want to see once again kind of what therapy has for us that week. With that, I will go ahead and close the webinar. Everyone, thank you for being here and have a wonderful week.